You're familiar with the idea that net worth explodes after it hits 100k. That has something to do with compounding when the money is invested in the stock market. But it's got everything to do with another key component that is often overlooked. And this will give you back something far more valuable than an increasing net worth. It will give you freedom! Before we get into that, let's talk about compounding, which really does benefit you over the long run because you're making money not only on the money that you've put in, but also your return on investment. So if we have a look at this graph, it essentially plots a few different scenarios based on a return of either 6% annually or 8% annually. But what's really cool is that it's assuming a £1,000 investment every single month, and it is showing you step by step how long it would take you to reach the various milestones. So you can see to reach your first 100k, that's where it takes you nearing 7 whole years to make it to 100,000. As time moves on and you've already met that first milestone, you can just see how much smaller those incremental time gaps need to be for you to hit your next 100,000 and your next 100,000 and your next 100,000 until your final 100,000, taking you from 900k to 1 million. And that is just over 1 year worth of growth. The other really cool thing here is if we split this by money that you have put in and money that has been returned to you from a combination of the returns on your investment and the returns on the returns from those investments, and also over time. So again, taking that hypothetical scenario where you are managing to put in £1,000 a month, again on the chart here, both along the left and along the bottom, you can see those different step-by-step progressions. The first step is 100,000, and that first 100,000 is pretty much just you. It is you putting the vast majority of that money into the pot. You only get 23% through your return on your investment. However, by that very final stage, remember that we said it takes you just over 1 year to meet that final 100,000 once you've already got 900,000. Well, it also is quite amazing how much of the pot then has become a return. 69% in fact. So why is 100k that milestone? What makes it so important? And I've got 2 key reasons why, and I'm going to talk about the first reason and I'm going to circle back to the second reason. So the first reason is that £100,000 is a huge deal. It is a massive amount of money in its own right. What is 100,000 equivalent to? Well, I've thrown a few things on screen. 2.7 times the median annual income. After tax, it's like 3 times your take-home pay as a median earner in the UK. 1/3 of the average house price in the UK. I can't believe how house prices have changed. It is ludicrous, but it's 1/3 of an average house. 5 years maxing out your ISA contributions, which, mind-blowing. That is a lot of commitment right there. And also far, far higher savings than most people ever have. It is hard to actually guesstimate how much in savings the average person has the willpower to put away, but data suggests that it is well below 100,000. Another thing that I want to cover is that if you have the discipline to save up £100,000 and lock it away into an investment, chances are your expenses are way less than your income. So this is important because it does not matter how high your income is If your expenses are at the same level or even exceed them, you will not make any progress towards that first 100K. And thinking about this, I found a quote that I find really useful and inspiring. And it was something said by Warren Buffett. He said, "Don't save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving." And that just brings me back to the fact that it takes real discipline and commitment to save £100,000. As you'll recall from earlier in the video, that first 100,000 is pretty much you. You can't rely on your money bringing you back a significant proportion of that money. That comes later, but you have to put in the hard graft at the outset to reach your first 100K. So what's the catch? In my opinion, not everybody with 100K is going to make it to financial freedom. That really should be money that you have saved out of your hard-earned income. And I have to draw a distinction here between that idea of actually saving and sacrificing the money as opposed to getting that money through other means. And that means you can't obtain that money through windfalls, such as inheritance, such as winnings. I mean, obviously, you may be able to invest those sums of money, but chances are you have not built up the financial habits to enable you to fully utilize and maximize the worth of that money. And to explain this further, I want to introduce the concept of mental accounting. That is when, although things may have the same nominal value, you view them differently, and as a result, you spend them differently. And I think this actually rings true for lots of people, and it's human nature to think about money differently. You might have heard of girl math as well, and this is very much along a similar vein. But imagine that you're just walking down the street and you see £50 right there on the ground. You probably view that as a win, and you are way more likely to see fit to treat yourself with that money. And it's the same often psychologically with bonuses and things that are not a regular income for us. And so let me then circle back to the key traits that you possess if you are one of the very few who have managed to scrimp and to save 100K from your hard-earned money. Basically, you are likely to be of a frugal mindset, and also you're not going to be in a rush. You stuck to your long-term path. As this really, really apt comment shows, it's more about the discipline that you have proved through saving £100,000 and the good financial habits that you've employed along the way to get yourself there, to get your expenses way below your income. That will give you the financial freedom that you seek. Financial freedom is having enough in savings, investments, and income to cover your living expenses. And another thing I want to say is that honestly, I find it more impressive today to save 100K compared to 10, 20 years in the past. Because despite the fact that 100K today is worth a lot less than it was back 10, 20 years, the key difference is that our fundamentals have become way more expensive. The cost of a house is crazy. The bare necessities for living have become so many more times our annual income that it just makes it so much more hard to save to begin with. So it's not to be downplayed. It is hard to save 100K. But if you can do it, you will have unlocked the ability that very few people possess. And likelihood is that you will continue to act in a very similar way once you hit 100K. That will inevitably mean that you will get to 200, 300, 400,000. And then, my friends, you are financially free.
What will you do without freedom?
Thanks for watching this video. I will see you in the next one.